Are you codependent? And do you know what codependency is? Maybe you've heard that word thrown around and you're not sure what it is. So today I want to clarify for you what codependency is and if you can relate to 10 traits of codependency that I'm about to share. Hello, my name is Dr. Brian Clemens. I'm a licensed mental health professional in private practice, and my channel is focused on helping you have the best relationship possible and being the most healthy person you can be in your life and in your relationships. First, let me share what codependency is. Much of the information I'm about to share comes from doctors Manerth and Meyer and Stephen Arterburn and their expertise on codependency. A definition of codependency is the belief that we can control events or others or anything outside of ourselves that will make us happy. So the heart of codependency is really about control. A person with codependency may say, I'm happy if they're happy. If they're not happy, I'm not happy. Or my life spent on meeting their needs and wants. I'm not even sure what I need. And so it's really an others focus that isn't healthy. And it is a huge issue in my practice. It's believed that over 100 million people in the United States have some form of codependency. And I can validate some of those numbers in my practice, as it feels like every other client I have is experiencing some form of codependency. And it's causing them misery in their life. They're feeling depressed, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling out of control. The first trait of codependency is that codependents are driven by one or more compulsions. So we're all familiar with addictive behavior like alcoholism and drugs, sex addiction, these types of things. Codependents are known to be compulsive in ways that are more acceptable, like workaholism, perfectionism, the spendaholic. And so these types of compulsions are very common to a codependent's life. In fact, many people with addictions are also codependent as well. The second trait of a codependent is that they are tormented by their past and the way things were in their family. Codependents learn in their family of origin a certain role, that they're overly responsible for others. Maybe their father or mother was an alcoholic or a rageaholic or a narcissist. So as children, they learn to be very directed towards the actions and the reactions of their primary caregivers around them. And they learn that it's about everybody else. So they're very attuned to what others are experiencing or doing, but not as attuned to their own personal needs and wants. The third characteristic of a codependent is that they have very low self-esteem. They often grow up in homes where they don't receive a lot of validation, love, or affirming words towards them. And they get their identity from pleasing others. And if they can only please everybody else, maybe people will love them or care about them. So they can also feel very emotionally deprived as individuals, that they're there for everybody else, but nobody's really there for them. The fourth characteristic of a codependent is they believe that their happiness hinges on the behavior of others. Codependents unconsciously are trying to manipulate those around them. If everybody's happy, then they're happy. If everybody's not happy, then they get into trying to fix it. And they do everything they can to avoid any further pain or rejection. The fifth trait of a codependent is they feel inordinately responsible for everybody else. They feel that if their child has a problem, that they've got to fix it, and they can't see their child suffer. or if their husband is an alcoholic, they've got to fix him or her. And they call and get them treatment. They do everything around that individual to make them better. And they feel this responsibility that they're the ones that have to make it all better and fix it. And the reality is they can't control others. And those around them get frustrated. And then they realize at some point, and this is by the time they come into my office, they feel anxious and depressed because none of that works. None of those controlling behaviors work. They can't fix people. They can't control them. They can't control events. So they come to the end of themselves at that point. The sixth characteristic of a codependent is their relationships are off balance. They're either overly dependent or overly independent, and they vacillate between the two. The relationships are unstable, and they have a hard time just accepting the acceptance that they get from the relationship that they're in. And so they're constantly going back between, I can't live without you, to I don't need you anymore. And there's really a lack of balance going on in their relationships. The seventh characteristic of codependency is that codependents are masters of denial. When a codependent comes into my office and I ask them about their childhood, they often start out by saying, oh, I had a great childhood and it was like Leave It to Beaver. I had all my needs, everything was great. And once I begin to question them more, I find out that their childhoods were really not as great as they're saying. There may be abuse, neglect, the alcoholic in the family, the narcissistic mom, or whatever it is. But they start out in a place of denial and everything's all fine and okay. But in reality, they're not pausing to think about the dysfunction from which they came. The eighth trait of a codependent is that they constantly worry about the things that they can't control, the things that they can't change, the people that they can't change. They live on if-onlys. If only my husband would go get treatment. If only my wife would do this or that, then we could be happy again. They get fixated on the lack of control of their life and the things they cannot change. And they continually try to change those things over and over and over as if they're on a hamster wheel. The ninth trait of a codependent is that they're punctuated by extremes. They may be seen as incredible, awesome people by everyone around them. Everybody likes them. They please everybody. They're always there for friends around them, but they may not be there for the people that are closest to them in their lives, like their family. In fact, behind closed doors, they could be rageaholics. They could be angry and volatile or disconnected. Codependents could potentially have this Jekyll and Hyde aspect to them where they're a great person to everybody out here, but behind closed doors, they're very controlling of their family or uncontrolling of themselves. The 10th trait of codependency is that codependents are always looking for the missing ingredient of life. They look outside of themselves to find this happiness and to fill that deep pit of despair within them, that empty love tank. And I always say it's like the song, they're looking for love in all the wrong places, in all the wrong ways as well. These are the 10 traits of codependence. I hope that you think through these, rewatch this video, and provide comments below. I also want to say that there is hope. You don't have to be stuck here. This isn't a permanent place that you have to live in. You can be happy, but the way in which you're trying to find happiness is only causing more pain. So if you find this valuable today, please hit like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you next time.